WNST. This is when it's fun to be doing this 27 years into it. I have since washed my UMBC dog shirt that I was wearing at the Judas Priest concert on Sunday night, as well as was wearing underneath of all of my Capitals gear on Friday night down in D.C. Steve Levy is here. He is finally, I really wanted to get him on Monday, really wanted to get him on Tuesday. And I'm just like, you know what, dude? Whenever you get some rest, you come and see me because I want it like the whole full Monty here, bro. First off, congratulations. For those of you who don't know Steve, I think it's 31 years, but I'll let him correct me, at UMBC. I mean, I think I met him with the Orioles in the early 90s, so I guess we go back a quarter of a century. Man, what a weekend, brother. I mean, you strap on your seatbelt, and that's why they call it March Madness, right?
Absolutely. And to be honest, Nestor, I mean, the whole thing kind of almost goes back to just after Christmas when we were playing Maryland down at Xfinity Center, and obviously there was a lot of hype with that. UMBC Maryland, we hadn't played them in a number of years, so after that point, then a couple weeks into January, we start planning to open a new arena. We kind of found out, second week in January, okay, it's going to be February 3rd. So there's obviously a mass amount of preparation that goes into that.
And it's less than ideal. I mean, let's just, call it what it is. It's just not the ideal way that you would draw it up to want to open your building in the middle of the season, right?
Absolutely. No one would want to do it that way, but,
it just creates stress. I mean, I know all of you, I think just from the basketball team of being comfortable in their gym, for the ticket takers, for the gift shop, for how you want the place to open and how you want it to be presented, but everybody's excited. I mean, I could see that there could be that unto itself is an interesting debate to be having in December and January, right, for any institution.
Absolutely, it definitely was a cause adversity. It was within the basketball team. I mean, here they are. Jordan Grant, a 4-year senior, has been practicing playing every single game in the RAC for his entire career. Then you're going to tell him and his teammates to pick up and move into a whole new environment in the middle of the season. So, definitely a adversity, which, I mean, amazingly, the guys, overcame, winning the 2 playoff games to get them to Vermont. So, but again, it was just just from that point on, from just after Christmas till the run just ended. It's it's been exhilarating and it's been exhausting, but it's been a grind, and just all credit to Coach Coach Odom, his staff, the players, everybody for what we actually saw transpire over this past weekend in Charlotte.
Well, look, you've been there forever, so, I mean, I can start, name-dropping all the Tom Sullivans, and, I mean, I go back to the lacrosse program and the old shirt that Monica DeCandelo Yakel gave me, and, and all the years, and Randy, and what went down there 10 years ago, and the excitement of, having that home court and having that sort of a bid for your home fans. I still say it's a top 10 all-time Baltimore moment for me, or things that I've experienced in Baltimore that had to do with Baltimore, that clinch. And look, Towson's always looking for that. Loyola's always looking for that. Coppin had their moment 21 years ago, and I put those pictures up of Fang bringing all those kids in, and I know you got Skeets on that side, and that it's all sort of tied together, and the 30 for 30 with the Dunbar guys. I mean, Baltimore has this rich heritage, but UMBC's been about Pete, and it's been about the soccer program, the lacrosse program. It's been obviously been about education there, and having the same university president, and this incredible story that you're now getting this opportunity to tell, and we'll have moving forward to tell. But the basketball program's always been, you got in once, it was a lot of fun. You're not going to be getting in, every year, because that's not the way the conference works, and that's kind of not the way the tea leaves work. And to take full advantage of it this time around, when you do have the new building opening and all the strife and this and that, I can't imagine a better time. I mean, at any point, you would have wished that you would have had this moment back during the Sullivan era or even the Monroe era or whatever, but you being there, it feels like UMBC's uniquely prepared as an institution right now with the building and all that's going on around there and what Pete's done with, to really move the whole sports and the whole university and the whole academic side to another level because of these building blocks that you guys have put together, and this thing that you are now the underdog of all underdog for all time. You're Chaminade, Steve Levy. How about that? Was that poetic enough?
Yeah, no, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, the world changed as far as, UMBC sees it, on Friday around 11:30 at night. Again, it was an amazing run to get there. The shot that beat Vermont was phenomenal. But, again, we expected, to be honest, I didn't bring enough clothes to Charlotte. I wasn't as
Oh,
well
you weren't prepared. Oh, you got to prepare for victory, Steve Levy. Come on now.
We definitely made a target run, one Saturday. So,
oh, that's great. See, those are the stories I want. I mean, like I look the basketball team, and I'll tell those stories, and I'm happy to tell them. I mean, and I watched you play in the old place. I've watched you play now in the new place, and I'm so impressed by all of it. And I even said to my wife walking in, I'm like, they haven't even figured out how the water drains around the building. I came down there the day it was kind of wet outside, and I'm like, I always think anytime I go to a new building, I see it as an architectural marvel. I'm blown away at what used to be and now what will never be again. In the same way, we'll never go back to 33rd Street. Once Camden Yards opened up, that's now the standard. And I walked into that building. I said, man, John Mayer's going to play here one day. I know that. And I said, secondly, they got a lot of tickets to sell here. They better win some basketball games. And 3 weeks later, you're the biggest story literally in the country, man. I tip my cap to all of you because you know how much I like all of you, individually and personally, and all I've been through with my wife and you guys swabbing for the registry and the way you guys have opened up your community to us and trying to save lives. But I'm really blown away. I'm embarrassed that I was at a Caps game on Friday and had committed to Judas Priest on Sunday. And I will say this, Steve, I was with you and I believed, especially when you drew Kansas State and the way you guys were playing, and you got a special player in Lyles. I had the flight held for Atlanta for third. I believed, you know what I mean? I was like, if they're going to get killed by 50 by Kentucky, that's fine. I'm going to Atlanta, and I'm going to watch them play in a Sweet 16 game. I'm not going to miss that. And but man, your people, I think they burned up 95 to 85, right, on Saturday and Sunday, getting down there for Sunday night, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people came down. But I agree with you. Usually I'm kind of a bit of a pessimist when I watch my teams, when I watch the Ravens, and even when I watch our teams. We could be down at halftime to UMass Lowell, and I'm internally kind of like grinding. It's like, man,
life is so much more fun as an optimist. I gotta be honest with you, Steve. It really is. I mean, I get down and stuff like everybody else, but I believed. I mean, I really did.
But to be honest, in the Kansas State game, I had a really good feeling, even 10 minutes ago, even like 5 minutes ago, I'm saying, you know what? We're better than this team without their big man. We're getting shots, we're getting open shots, and we're going to eventually knock a couple of these down. And I really felt up maybe until like the 2-minute mark when, we had like 7 chances to take the lead and couldn't convert, and all of a sudden they made like a 6-0 run, and that kind of put us where it's like, I just don't think there's enough fuel in the tank. So I actually thought, I was with you. I thought, you know what, we're going to extend this run. We're going to get to Atlanta, and we're going to face, as Coach Odom said, the pro team in Kentucky.
Steve Levy is our guest, and of course, he is the man, the myth, the legend, and now not fully rested, sort of coming out of all of this stuff as the Associate AD for Communications down at UMBC and the Mighty Retrievers. Man, your gear get a lot more money on the internet right now. You sell high, with out on eBay. I mean, you got that team store down there. It has to have been overwhelmed, right? Like, give me the 72 hours of madness after 11 o'clock on Friday from your perspective of the things that you didn't believe possible. Like let's start with this. I'm out making French toast on Saturday, and Ryan and Jairus just show up in the middle of March Madness, and I'm like, stop it. My wife was in the shower. I hit pause. I'm recording. I'm grabbing my wife. I'm like, hey, come on. They're on TV out here, I mean, I was like a proud parent myself, through all of this, but I can't imagine when, you're telling, somebody come down and bring me some pants and a jacket to wear because I didn't pack enough clothes.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because, when when you're kind of in the eye of the storm, the eye of the hurricane, you kind of almost don't see, so I was up till about 5 a.m. Friday night, Saturday morning, literally preparing for Kansas State, getting notes updated, stats updated, all that kind of stuff.
Work, not celebration, work, right? Literally, right?
The media's coming in at 10 o'clock the next morning, and they want to start to prepare for round two.
And it's also your Super Bowl. Well, you want UMBC to be buttoned up when people come asking, what is UMBC? This is your one chance. This is you prepared your whole life, right? Like literally as a professional, all of you, to prepare Kentucky's media to know about you, right? Literally, right?
It's true, but I definitely was not prepared for the onslaught that we had, and I don't even think any team of players or coaching staff or communication staff could have been prepared for what actually transpired in the locker room and in the aftermath. But
see, man, you should have texted me and Pica. We would have come in there like Winston Wolfe. Me, him, and Rusta Lynn. Bring the three of us down there, man.
Right, exactly. He sent me put a nice tweet out about
dude,
me.
the amount of people who love you, bro. I mean, it was very, very apparent, your admiration society in and around town. And I'm sure it was the same way for Coppin 21 years ago, right? Like, you felt that way for them, even though you're across town. How can you not love what Fang did? When that thing happens, everybody latches on, and we're all rowing the boat in the same direction,
Right, absolutely. So I finally got in bed at 5 a.m. I said, you know what? I haven't consumed any of the media from this. So I flipped on SportsCenter, and Nestor, literally the first 13 minutes of the 5 a.m. SportsCenter was all about UMBC and the game. And to me, when it became reality. That's when I say, oh, my God, we actually did this. I'm going to wake up in a couple hours, and this actually will have happened. So, and then
it's not news until it's on television, right?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, So, and then, I got a request, to hook up a FaceTime with Coach, with SportsCenter, with Seth Greenberg, for 10:30 that morning. So we're kind of hooking that up, and then the beat kind of rolls on, and you have to get to the arena for meetings and practices and follow-up meetings with Jim Nance and the boys. So like I said, it just kind of rolled on from there.
That's why I left you alone. I didn't. I text Stark Angelo. I text one word: madness. And he sent me back the video from the locker room at about 1:30 in the morning. My wife and I were on New York Avenue leaving a Caps game because I had a charity thing that I was doing behind the scenes for a friend with Coach Trotz on Friday nights. So I was committed, and my wife had it. She had downloaded the app. We had the 4G where we had everything working. We were literally watching the game on her phone. And we pulled over, and I wanted to watch the celebration, because no offense, Steve, but it was kind of anticlimactic, right? I mean, it was a 20-point lead. The last 4 minutes of the game, it was like, this is really happening. Pinch me. All of that kind of happened quickly because there weren't a lot of whistles and a lot of stop and start. That 4 minutes went in kind of 4 minutes, right? Or maybe in 8 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. So then they cut away. They cut away on the feed. I didn't even get to see any. And they're like, now let's go to Boise or wherever the hell they went. And I'm like, so I came home, and we got in the house, and the first thing my wife put on the coverage, and it was, who is UMBC? What is True Grit? Look at all the crazy things at UMBC Athletics. I pulled out my Twitter because I had not lived on social media on Friday night, and I saw what Zach had done, and I know some thoughts about that, man. That is its own 30 for 30 special, just the tweets and how the whole thing went down with him and Seth Davis, right?
Right. So, I definitely don't claim to be the brightest guy in the world, but I think the one thing I can semi pat myself in the back for is over the 32 years, I put people, that have worked for me in the proper positions to excel. And a lot of my former assistants have, stayed in the field of sports information. Others have stayed in the sports field and done quite well for themselves. So I made a decision and this whole thing is a whirlwind. We beat Vermont, and basically the next day, the NCAA is asking for, who needs to be credentialed from your staff, what do you need to do. So this thing has to happen very, very quickly. So I made the decision that, I'm just going to deal with media because I know obviously that's going to be a huge crunch, and I'm just going to do what I always do on the road, which is keep the scorebook. I actually took a picture of the scorebook for posterity that, yes, this really happened. So, well,
that's always the hang up. Like when the Ravens go to the Super Bowl, it's do what you always do. Do it,
right.
Don't let's not if we do it this way for 3.5 months, if it's good enough to do it in Vermont on a Sunday, it's good enough to do it in Charlotte on a Thursday, right?
Right. But the one adjustment I made is so you know what? I usually tweet during the games, every media timeout, I'll throw the score up. I'll throw in, who did what, things like that. But it's, I'm not clever or glib enough to do what I know Zach Seidel can do. So it's like, okay, Zach, here's your role. You're going to be sitting a row behind me. You're going to be doing my role, doing social media. We had a young lady from the America East Conference, and she's kind of an expert in social media as well. So she was kind of, working alongside him. But Nestor, it was very organic. It wasn't like a plan that Zach had. It wasn't a particular plan that I had. But, yeah, once the Seth Davis thing, hit, and to be honest, I really wasn't aware of all this stuff till well after the game. But once it kind of started there, it just obviously, as you could tell, it snowballed, and Zach kept it going, but he kept it going in a way that was, entertaining, but not degrading to University of Virginia or anyone else, or even Seth Davis. It was kind of just, kind of poking the bear a little bit, but,
it was very appropriate. I mean, all of it.
Right.
I mean, all of it was very, very appropriate from what a 16 seed with a Chesapeake Bay Retriever and a True Grit mascot and a little tiny contingent of yellow and black down there, courtside, believing the belief and dreaming the dream, and then looking up and, beating the number one team in the country by 20 points with 7 minutes left to go in the game, and everybody's waiting on the run that sort of never happened, right? And I guess in the aftermath of all of this is what gets left behind for the university. Obviously, the building's there. Obviously, Ryan Odom, and when he comes on, if I'm going to ask him real questions, you ask, hey, what is the future here? Because this is what happens. This is the trajectory of what happens to college coaches in this industry at this level, historically through his father's legacy and all of that, as well as how popular he is. So that's part of the story. But then the rest of the story is, what does this do to admissions? Certainly, I saw ignorance, on social media late into the night Friday, because I was up till 2 a.m. when I got back on social media and with channels running UMBC stuff, because I said to my wife, this will never happen again. I mean, they beat the number one team in the country by 20 points with the lights on in March. Like, they're a 16 seed. And I go back to Fang and all of that, and I know no one's a basketball historian like you are, and I know you remember all parts of that, and you also have an association with that at UMBC as well, that, these stories take on a life of their own, and, I'm out following this well into the morning, and I saw somebody take shots at UMBC as UCMB and community college and this and that, and I'm like, man, I've spent a lot of time at UMBC. I chased girls there back in the 90s, saw the Alarm back there in the 80s, and, the Live played out there back in the day. And first thing I thought when I walked in your building was, we're going to get concerts here. This is going to be great, And I've been out, I've known you 25 years, and seeing everything about your campus grow up, and see Pete Caringi's program grow up, and your lacrosse and basketball, and coming down every year to the rack and shooting free throws with Coach Billick and shooting free throws with Kerry Williams, and all the stuff that we've done together, and the marketing stuff, and my logo being up in the rack at various points, and having your coaches in my home in White Marsh, once a week, having 10 o'clock decaf coffee and telling basketball stories, about PJ Carlissimo, and, all of that goes into that. I've always thought, man, UMBC is a really smart school. My son always kind of wanted to go to UMBC, and I always said, you better get your grades up. I've always thought about it as this science place, and no offense to the nerds at Johns Hopkins, but I've always felt like when I'm over at UMBC, you got to accomplish something to get into UMBC for me, and in the modern era for sure. And to see it get some pot shots, I loved the fight back that happened, and I love the story of your leader who marched with Dr. King being a part of this story, because I think there's an awakening for your institution here that would go beyond they won a basketball game. You know what I mean? That's all I know about Chaminade is they won a basketball game. Now it's your school's turn to tell a bigger story and a bigger gym and a bigger program and bigger everything, quite frankly.
Right, exactly. And, obviously, very happy that Dr. Rabowski, was able to get down there. He wanted to be in Burlington for the American East Championship, but he had a prior engagement in California that he could not get out of. But, obviously, it was amazing that he was able to get down to Charlotte. And, exactly. He was able to tell his story, to tell the university story. I mean, New York Times, Washington Post, Baltimore Sun. I mean, just incredible amount of exposure. Again, we had a great team down there from the university that, did a Q&A with Dr. Rabowski on Saturday morning, and admissions, obviously, they threw up an admissions link on there, I believe, on Saturday. So, I mean, I think they understand what happened on Friday and what it can mean to the university. And obviously there are boundaries that exist that, I'm not sure if we can cross or not cross. That's yet to be seen. But, it's actually, Dr. Rabowski knows this was the ultimate platform to tell the UMBC story.
Absolutely. And more than that, the stability when you've had a president that's been there a quarter of a century, when you have an SID, which I thought you were, but you're not. You're the associate AD of communications for 31 years, that there is, Pete's been there forever. When I'm over there, I get treated like family because the people that have been there are still there, and they're always there, and the success is there for your level and what you're trying to accomplish there, which is a sports program that complements a university, not a football team that leads the way for what might or might not be happening behind the closed doors of said university. I think everyone realizes that at UMBC, at least I always have, that you're an academic and science institution that plays a little basketball and tries hard at soccer and went to a Final Four and has a little bit of an underdog spirit, over in Catonsville. And I've always loved the charm of all of it, Oh,
absolutely. And we know that, exactly. We're not the Crimson Tide, and we're not going to, supersede what the university's mission is. So, we know our place. We hope our standing increases, and we hope we, continue to assist and enhance what we can do for the university itself. But we're never going to become a factory like some of the Power 5 conference schools are going to be. So, but obviously this as I said at the very outset, this definitely changes the UMBC world, and it remains to be seen exactly what's going to transpire in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead as we, prepare for our future.
He is Steve Levy. He is the Associate AD for Communications. All of our WNST programming brought to you by Howard Bank, a relentless commitment to being the best at everything they do. Branches throughout Baltimore and Maryland. The unique, hands-on approach to banking. Every person at Howard Bank is empowered to help you. Go see them at howardbank.com. Also brought to you by Royal Farms. Real fresh, real fast. Inside of my Cole Roofing mug here on our WNS TV cameras and our YouTube camera here and our Facebook Live is the Kona Blend. Real fresh, real fast, the tasty coffee. Make sure you're downloading the app. Using that, you'll get some free fried chicken. I had some Western fries on Monday night. They were tasty. I dug them very much. And, of course, Cole Roofing, we had Bill Cole on. We talked about, a whole bunch of cool stuff. You'll want to go check that out, the BuyAToyota.com audio vault as well. But Cole Roofing, with this incredible weather we've had the middle of this week and the wind, if you've got a corporate space, if you've got a big roof like the one over at UMBC, you'll want to let the folks Cole Roofing up there to get a look around, assess what's going on your roof. Know that before the bad weather comes. that's certainly going to help you out now that we've had some wind. Steve Levy is my guest. Steve, I'll conclude this by just saying this, and look, I go back with the Coppin State story and Fang bringing the kids in. I illicitly fed them pizza. I'm sure I broke some NCAA violations 21 years ago, and I'm laughing about that later. But Fang was still kind of like not in a great mood. I looked at some of the pictures. There's one where he's smiling. But Fang thought they should have beaten Texas. And I know you're a historian about all of this, and they came closer to beating Texas, quite frankly, and you came beating Kansas State. But in the end, you hung longer. And I know for Ryan, for all the coaches, for the players, for you, for all of you to have come close on Sunday night, that's also a difficult thing to overcome from a functional standpoint, that you were that close to winning. And I think that that's going to take a little time to sort of heal. But as John Eisenberg said earlier, and, if John said it, it's gospel. He said, no one's ever going to remember that they lost to Kansas State. They're only going to remember that they beat Virginia. and I know, but that doesn't heal this week. But you were in that game, and I know that that's been probably the hardest part for everybody around your program in the aftermath of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because as I said earlier, we really thought. I mean, I was sitting with Ryan and KJ and Jarris in the holding room before we met the media on Sunday night, and all to a man, we kind of said we really could have had this thing. We just didn't make 2 or 3 plays down the stretch that could have put us over the hump. We frankly, again, without K-State's big man, we thought they were really beatable. And all credit to them. I mean, they defended really well, and they certainly deserved the victory. But yeah, if there's just a taste of bitterness in our mouths, is the fact that we were right there. We could be. I hope we could have gotten out of here. Yesterday to get down to Atlanta. We probably would have definitely made that move, because the games are Thursday. So yeah, if there's any aftertaste of bitterness, it's wow. We really could have been facing the ultimate blue bloods on Thursday. In Atlanta. I'm sure we'd have seen a whole mess of black and gold down there as well, along with a heck of a lot of blue. But but I think in the final evaluation, I mean, it's just the whole experience was just again, it's something that you dream about, and you don't actually think there's any possible way it can happen to your program, but it did. Again, as you said, no one will ever forget it. No one will ever forget that Friday night. I mean, CBS Sportsnet replayed the game 2 nights ago, so I got to see it for the first time. So
instant classic.
Yeah, exactly. Sirius XM is redoing the broadcast this evening, so the beat goes on. We'll still see a lot of stuff in the coming days and weeks as we even get to the Final Four. So just an amazing experience. Appreciate you and your support over my entire tenure at UMBC, and it's really the ultimate cause for celebration.
It's been a pleasure, man, and I did not know the mascot's name was True Grit. I mean, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And look, I've been going to games forever. I own the Pep Band, CD. I have yellow swag and black swag. I feel really remiss that I haven't worn my Jay Green throwback because I do have that in the black. But I've worn the gold. I wore it, all weekend long, and I think everybody around town rallied. And I think that's, there's a greater story to be told moving forward, and whatever happens to the program down there. And soon it'll be soccer season. Corinji tells me it's soccer season every day. So
right, exactly.
Hey, man, congratulations, and enjoy the magic carpet ride while it's still going on. If there's anything we can do around here to help you out, I want to get the good doctor on. I want to get all the coaches on. I want to get the players on. I'm not bringing them all in for pizza this time. I'm not going to break any rules, but one by one, phone call by phone call to get their experiences. I really want to hear about Saturday and Sunday. We know what happens when you wake up Saturday and every person in your life ever, even when you're 19 years old, is reaching you in a million different ways, and you got to go play a basketball game against a really good team the next night. And it looked to me like the legs were a little short, shots coming up short. Those kinds of fatigue things that happen that you're familiar with, seeing a team that travels around the Northeast in cold weather every night, playing teams that are pretty good. So I want to tell more of the stories. I think the tales will go taller on down the line. I want to get them while they're fresh, you know what I mean? And for posterity's sake, maybe I'll do a best of next year, and have all the stories to tell again, because I like to tell them while they're fresh.
Absolutely.
I write books about this stuff, Levy. You know that.
Yep. So yeah, it's definitely. There's obviously a lot of untold things and things that happened in the locker room when I was in the media conference. Like, oh boy, Max Portman got interviewed, Nolan Garrity got interviewed for the Fortnite stuff. So stuff was coming out that I wasn't even aware of. So yeah, just a lot of stories to be told, and yeah, maybe a 30 for 30 someday.
How many Hispanic outlets reach tomorrow? How many interviews in Spanish did he have to do? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I think only one of them came through me. I mean, sometimes they'll come through other channels, so maybe some directly through him. I mean, I think his dad's is probably his greatest PR agent. So.
I want to have his dad on now that I know that. See, that's what I need. I need people who want to talk to me and tell me the story of the incredible UMBC weekend that I didn't experience, but I experienced vicariously because, I'm Facebook friends with Zach Seidel. So, at 2 a.m, I saw him putting up funny things on Facebook about what was happening to his life behind the scenes, and it was just... It brought me great pleasure over the weekend to follow the whole thing, to be honest with you. To wear my UMBC shirt underneath my tuxedo at the Be More Humane event up in Hunt Valley, and to sit next to Jamie Costello, and he shouted out UMBC from the top, and I got to open my tuxedo, and I had this shirt underneath. So, yes.
Yep, all good, and we'll definitely keep it going as long as we possibly can.
I didn't get any stains on it or anything, Steve. Be good, man. We'll see you soon. Congrats. Get some rest.
Thank you, sir. Take care, Nestor.
Steve Levy from UMBC. I think that's 31 minutes with him for 31 years down at UMBC, Associate AD and Communications, telling the story of UMBC and their incredible weekend. I'm going to give everybody a chance to do that. Anybody from UMBC wants to come on, I want to hear their story. I'll get Anthony Adams tell his story because I saw him and his kid on Facebook too, because I'm friends with these people. That's why I'm so happy for them. Nasty at WNST.net is the way to find me. You can find me out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault telling all sorts of stories during bad weather, good weather. We're going to be in Orlando this week at the NFL owners meetings. Head coach Barry Trotz of the Washington Capitals will be our guest in the opening day after party at Michael's Cafe in Timonium. That's next Thursday night, the 29th. We'll begin our conversation right around 7:30. Skipjack, Stanley Cup, Ovechkin, hockey, more hockey. Ed Frankovic will join me as well as we'll grill the coach. We'll swab for the Bone Marrow Registry and for There Goes My Hero. Nasty at WNST.net will find me anytime, anywhere. If you need more facts, details, it's all up on the website. Our Ray Lewis trip going to Canton, Ohio and stopping to see the Indians and the Pirates and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. All that stuff is up online as well. Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram. We kind of do it all. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.